The Capture sky over planet Kalos 9 was dark and filled with fire. Huge warships floated above the clouds, blocking the light from the two suns. People screamed as the ground shook with each blast. The war was over before it even began. Commander Velzera stood on the command deck of her flagship, watching the battle end on the screens. Her armor was dark silver, her eyes glowing faint blue. She had no emotion on her face. She had seen this many times before: another planet taken, another war won, all rebels captured. Her officer reported 172 prisoners. One human among them. Velzera turned her head slowly. A human? Yes, Commander. The last one we found. He did not resist. He smiled. Velzera raised an eyebrow. Strange. Most humans begged or cursed. This one smiled. Bring him to me, she ordered. Moments later, two soldiers entered the room, dragging a man in chains. He looked small compared to the alien warriors. His clothes were torn, his face dirty, but his eyes were calm. He looked around the room, then directly at Velzera. He smiled. Velzera stepped closer. You are not afraid? She asked. The man shrugged. Afraid of what? You've already won. What is your name? Eli. He said. Just Eli. Velzera studied him for a long moment. There was something strange about him. He did not show fear, anger, or pain. He just stood there, looking at her as if she were a puzzle. You killed thousands of my people, he said softly. Why? It was necessary, she answered. Is it still necessary now that I'm here? He asked. Velzera said nothing. She turned to her guards. Take him to cell 14. I want no one to speak to him. As the guards took Eli away, he looked back and said, You don't look like a monster, you know. Velzera froze. No one had ever said that to her before. That night, Velzera sat in her private chamber. She tried to meditate, but Ellie's words returned again and again in her mind. You don't look like a monster. She stood up and walked to the security screen. She pressed a button and Ellie's cell appeared. He was lying on the floor, hands behind his head, humming a tune, a human song. She turned up the volume. Eli was singing softly. The language was Old Earth English. Velzera had studied many languages, but this one felt warm. She watched him until he fell asleep. Then something strange happened. Eli began to talk in his sleep. Sarah, don't leave. I'm here. I'm still here. Velzera leaned closer. Who was Sarah? A sister, a wife, a daughter? Why did it matter? She shook her head and turned off the screen. The next morning, Velzera returned to the command deck. Her officers stood straight as she entered. They gave reports, numbers, and maps. But her mind was elsewhere. Commander, her second-in-command said. Shall we destroy the remaining human base? Velzera looked at the screen showing the human outpost. It was weak. One strike would erase it. Delay the attack, she said. May I ask why? Velzera didn't answer. She walked out and made her way to the cells. When she entered Ellie's cell, he was awake, sitting against the wall. Morning, he said. I was starting to think you forgot about me. I don't forget, she said. I didn't think you did. You seem sharp. Velzera sat on the bench across from him. Tell me something, human. Why are you not afraid to die? Eli looked at her seriously for the first time. Because I've already lost everything. I saw my world fall, my friends, my family, all gone. So what do I have to fear now? Velzera said nothing. She stared at him. There was pain in his voice, but also strength. I used to be a teacher, he added. I taught history, stories about peace, love, war, and mistakes we made. Maybe you're not so different from us. I am not human, Velzera said coldly. No, Eli agreed. But maybe part of you wants to be. Velzera stood up, suddenly angry. You don't know me. You're right, Eli said. But you're still here, listening. That means something. She left the room without a word. But his voice stayed in her mind. Back in her chamber, Velzera stared out at the stars. She had commanded armies, crushed empires. She had brought entire civilizations to their knees. But tonight, one human had made her question something she never had before. Why? And far away, in the shadows of the ship, someone was watching. A message was being sent. The commander is changing. It's the human. He must be removed. The prisoner who smiles *. The silence in the warship was thick, almost alive. Commander. Velzera sat alone in her meditation chamber. Her hands rested on her knees, her eyes closed. But her mind, far from silent. Eli. The human, the one who smiled in chains, the one who said strange things. Things that had no place in her world, words like hope, home, love. Maybe part of you wants to be human. His voice echoed in her memory like a whisper in a cave. She opened her eyes sharply. That wasn't just foolishness. It was danger. Elsewhere on the ship, deep in the cell block, Eli sat alone in his cell, humming softly again. His fingers tapped a rhythm against the cold metal floor, a rhythm from Earth. From a song once played in a peaceful time, a song his sister used to love. Her name was Sarah. But now only silence remembered her. Footsteps approached. He looked. up, expecting another guard. It wasn't a guard. It was VL single quotes Zara. She stood at the cell door. Not speaking, not moving, just watching him. You again, Eli said, smiling slightly. You really need a hobby? I need answers, she replied. Answers are dangerous, he said, especially when you've been asking the wrong questions your whole life. Zara stepped inside the cell. I've seen 1,000 humans beg for mercy, she said. Her voice cold. You're different. You act like you're not afraid, but you are. I can see it. Eli leaned back against the wall, of course. I'm afraid, but fear doesn't mean you stop living. It means you keep going. You keep feeling. Feeling is weakness, she snapped. Then why are you still here? He asked. Vel single quotes Zara froze. No answer. Only silence. Meanwhile, in the command chamber, Zara, as second in command, General Kareth, watched the security feed. He saw her inside the human cell again. For the third time, he narrowed his eyes. This was no longer a curiosity. This was something more. He tapped a code into the console and sent a secure message to the High Council. The commander is compromised. Request permission to remove the human permanently. Back in the cell, Eli told her stories. He spoke about sunsets on Earth. How the sky turned orange and gold like fire melting across the clouds. He spoke about children playing in open fields, laughing without fear. He even described the taste of chocolate. Zara listened, silent, unmoving, but her eyes softened just a little. I don't understand, she whispered. How did your kind survive with such softness? We didn't. Eli replied, that's why we lost. But that's also why we matter. Zara stood up. She turned to leave. Then, without looking back, she asked, who is Sarah? Ellie's voice caught for the first time. My sister, he said quietly. She died when your ships came. Zara paused, then left. She didn't say sorry, but something inside her felt like a regret. That night, she returned to her private chamber. She opened an old archive file. One she hadn't seen in centuries. It was a memory recording. A young girl, no more than 6 cycles old, standing in front of a military commander, her father. She was being trained to fight, to survive, to conquer. No softness. No mercy. Her name was Zara. She stared at her younger self. Cold eyes, empty smile. She closed the file, then opened another. This one showed Earth before the invasion, children laughing. Sunsets burning, people singing, smiling. She didn't understand them, but something about it hurt. Next day, Zara entered the command deck. General Kareth stood straight, hands behind his back. Commander, he said, there was an explosion in the lower reactor. Someone breached the security grid. 3 prisoners dead. The human is missing. She froze. Missing, she said slowly. Double quotes yes. We are searching. Her heart, something like a heart, began to race. In the dark hallways of the ship, Eli ran. His face was bruised, his hands bleeding. He didn't know who helped him escape, or why, but he knew something was wrong. He'd overheard it, a plan to kill Zara. She was no longer just a commander to them. She was a risk, a traitor. Because of him, he stopped, turned around, and went back. Zara reached the damaged section. Guards were dead, walls burned. In the center of the hallway, blood. And on the wall, written with that same blood, were 4 words. He is the weakness. Her fists clenched. Not in rage. In fear. For the first time, Zara felt fear. Suddenly, her comlink buzzed, a voice, faint, broken, bleeding. Zara. It's Eli. Her eyes widened. They're going to kill you, your own people. You need to. The signal cut. She didn't wait. She ran, not as a commander, but as something else now. Something very close to human. She found him. In the engine chamber, surrounded by soldiers with weapons raised. Eli stood between them and the control panel, one hand pressed to his side, blood soaking his shirt. You came back, he whispered when he saw her. Zara didn't hesitate. She lifted her arm, and in one sharp move, she shot her own soldiers. 1, 2, 3. They dropped, the others fled. Eli fell to his knees. She caught him before he hit the floor. I thought you'd left me, he said weakly. I don't leave my people, she whispered. Eli looked up at her. And smiled, but deep in space, a new danger moved, a secret weapon, one the High Council had prepared for years. Now, they had a reason to launch it. They would not let Zara turn against them. They would not let her protect a human. The weapon moved through the stars. Its target, Earth. Whispers of Earthful. Zara stood over Eli, her blood-soaked hands trembling. She had never killed her own soldiers before, never broken orders, never protected a prisoner. But that night, in the engine chamber, everything changed. Eli was unconscious. His wound was deep, but not fatal. She had called for med units in secret. If the council knew what she had done, they would send assassins, not doctors. As the drones treated him, she sat in silence. Her mind was at war. Not with her enemies, with herself. She returned to her chamber and activated the security walls. No signals and or out. She opened the human archive again. Earth. A small blue world, weak, unimportant. And yet, beautiful. She watched video footage, grass moving with the wind, oceans crashing on rocky cliffs, children chasing each other under rain. Ellie's stories came alive on the screen. Every word he said now made sense. She wasn't just curious, she was longing for something she never knew she missed. Then came the whisper, a sound, digital, hidden, crawling through her system, a secret message. Project Holosun activated. Countdown, 6 cycles. Target, Earth. She froze. Her hands trembled again, not from fear, but rage. The Council was going to destroy Earth. Not conquer it. Not warn it, just erase it, because of one human. Because of him. Eli woke up in a dim room, wrapped in healing fabric. He winced. As he sat up, his side still ached. Velzera stood nearby, arms crossed, her face unreadable. You saved me, he whispered. You endangered me, she replied. He smiled weakly. Sounds like a fair trade. She didn't laugh, she didn't even smile, but she didn't leave either. Why did you come back? She asked. I couldn't let them kill you, he said. I may be human, but I'm not heartless. She turned away. The stars outside the window blinked cold and distant. Your planet is in danger, she said quietly. Ellie's breath caught. What do you mean? She showed him the message. Holosun. A weapon beyond anything humans could imagine. Powered by dark fusion, designed to consume planets from the inside out. 6 cycles left. He stepped forward. We have to stop it. She didn't move. If I move against them, they'll erase me too. Eli looked her in the eyes. Then let them, because if we don't try, you'll spend the rest of your life knowing you let something beautiful die. Velzera stared at him. No commander had ever spoken to her like this. No creature, no ally, no enemy, only a human. The next hours were chaos and silence. Velzera locked down her ship. Falsified orders, moved coordinates. She made it look like they were heading to a neutral system. But in secret, they were heading to the Hollow Sun device's launch point. She selected only her most loyal soldiers for the mission. The rest were drugged or deceived, but General Kareth wasn't fooled. From a hidden command base, he watched her betray them, let her run. He told the Council she's already lost. Once she reaches Holosun, we'll end her along with the human. During the journey, Eli and Velzera talked every day. He told her more about Earth, about seasons, about snow, about books and memories. She told him about her childhood, about being trained to lead at age 5, about the loneliness of command, about the silence of power. They weren't prisoner and captor anymore, they were something else. And yet, Velzera knew something he didn't. She was dying. The blast she took during the rescue had infected her with microshards, weapons designed to kill slowly. She hadn't told him, not yet. She needed to finish this mission first, then she could rest. Finally, they reached the Holosun station, hidden inside a dead star. The weapon was massive, like a black city floating in the void, silent, sleeping, but not for long. Velzera and her loyal crew landed on the surface, disguised as inspectors. Time was running out. They had 4 hours before the final sequence started. Eli was given a tech suit. He'd have to enter the reactor room, a place Velzera couldn't go. The system would recognize her. He looked at the wires, the controls, the alien tech. This looks nothing like what I know, he said. You're smart, she said. And stubborn, use that. He chuckled nervously. You really trust me to save a planet? I trust you more than I trust myself, she whispered. And for the first time, she smiled. They split up. Vel single quotes. Zera entered the command tower to disable the security grid. Eli slipped into the reactor wing, heart pounding. Inside, the machine breathed, lights pulsed. Heat radiated from glowing veins in the wall. Then he saw it, the core, suspended in midair, spinning slowly. A single console hovered near it, marked in symbols. Eli approached, hands shaking. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber. Step away, human. General Kareth. He emerged from the shadows, blaster in hand. Velzera's voice crackled in Ellie's earpiece. Eli, get out of there. The comms went dead. Kareth aimed his weapon. You've poisoned her mind, he said coldly. She was a weapon, a queen, and now she bleeds for you. Eli raised his hands. She's more than a weapon. You just never looked close enough. Kareth sneered. You're just flesh. Weak, temporary, maybe, Eli said, but even a short life can mean something. And with one sudden move, he slammed the console with his elbow. The core pulsed red. The countdown paused. For a second, just a second, he had stopped it. Kareth fired. The blast hit him in the shoulder. He collapsed to the floor, groaning, but then came a second shot. From behind. Vel single quotes. Zera. She stood at the entrance, eyes blazing, armor cracked, blood dripping. She had come for him. Kareth turned, stunned. You would shoot me for a human? She didn't hesitate. I would shoot you for peace. She pulled the trigger and ended him. She rushed to Eli, helped him stand. He smiled through the pain. You always show up at the last second. She helped him to the console. Together, they entered a shutdown code. The hollow sun faded. Its heart went dark. Earth was safe. For now. As they escaped in silence, Velzera looked out the window. Her body was failing. She could feel it, but her soul was finally waking up, and Eli knew it. He didn't speak. He just sat beside her. In the quiet, they both listened to the whispers of Earth. The betrayal within hollow sun was destroyed. The weapon that could have ended Earth was now silent, frozen in space. But Commander Velzera knew this was no victory parade. This was rebellion. Against the Council, against her own kind, and rebellion always has a price. Velzera stood in the medbay watching Eli sleep. His arm was bandaged. His shoulder burnt from Kareth's blaster, but he was alive. She had seen strong warriors fall from smaller wounds, but Eli had something she had never seen in soldiers. He fought, not with weapons, but with hope. Outside the medbay, Velzera's inner circle gathered, 5 officers, loyal, or so she believed. Captain Rin, her oldest ally, stepped forward. We need to talk, she said carefully, alone. Velzera nodded and followed her to the strategy room. Rin shut the doors, sealed the walls, then turned. The Council knows everything. They've placed a bounty on you. I expected that. Velzera said coldly. Rin hesitated. They also declared humans a galactic virus. Any species helping them will face extinction. Velzera turned away, staring at the map of stars. They fear what they don't understand. No. Rin said, they fear you because you've changed. Velzera didn't reply. Later that night, Velzera entered the communications bay. She activated a signal hidden, encrypted. It reached out across the galaxy. To an old contact. A spy buried deep in the Council's core. I need information. She said, what's coming next? The reply came after a pause. They're not planning to kill you. They're planning to use you. Meanwhile, Eli had awakened. He limped through the halls. Still weak but moving, he passed soldiers who looked away. He felt the tension. He felt the stares. And he knew something was wrong. He entered the tech room. Something drew him there. He accessed an unprotected terminal, and what he found froze him. A secret message from one of Velzera's officers. Target is attached to the human. Remove him and she breaks. She will return to us. The message was sent yesterday. Ellie's heart pounded. Someone close wanted him dead. He had to find her. Velzera returned to her chamber, exhausted. She removed her armor piece by piece, revealing the glowing veins beneath her skin, the shards inside her were spreading. Each breath hurt now. She had maybe days left, maybe less. But she didn't tell Eli. She couldn't, not yet. A knock. She turned sharply, hand near her weapon. It was Eli. His face was pale, serious. Someone sent a kill order. He said, one of your own. She didn't speak. She already knew, but now he did to. Eli stepped closer. They think if I'm gone, you'll stop changing. They're right, she said. No, they're wrong, he said. You didn't change because of me, you changed because deep down, you wanted more than war. She stared at him. Maybe, she whispered. He saw the pain in her eyes, and then he noticed something else, her hand trembling. You're sick, he said. She looked away. It's nothing, don't lie to me. A long silence. Finally, she spoke. I was wounded when I rescued you. The weapon left fragments inside me. They're killing me slowly. Ellie's eyes filled with tears. No, he whispered. There must be a cure. There isn't. He grabbed her hand. Then we'll find one together. But time was not on their side. Far away, in the shadow systems, a ship moved through dark space. Inside, a group of mercenaries gathered. One of them held a hologram of Eli, human target. Capture alive if possible, dead if necessary, reward, 10 million. Credits. They were already on their way, back on Velzera's ship. The betrayal began. Captain Rin led a secret group of officers to the core engine room. They planted virus nodes, designed to lock Velzera out of her own systems. Their plan was clear, take control. Hand Eli to the Council, save their own lives. But they didn't know something important. Eli had a plan. Eli entered the ship's broadcast room. He hacked into the intercom. His voice rang across every hallway. My name is Eli, I'm human, and I know some of you hate me, I know some of you blame me. But Velzera, your commander, she saved me, she saved Earth, she saved you. Not because she's weak, but because she's finally free. He paused. If you think she's broken, look again. She's more alive than any of you. And if you betray her, you're not just betraying a commander, you're betraying your future. Silence followed, then a few cheers. Small but growing. Not everyone was loyal to Rin, and now the ship was divided. Rin made her move. She stormed into the control room, weapons raised. Arrest the commander, she shouted, but Velzera was already waiting. Unarmed.com. I knew it was you, she said softly. You're leading us to extinction. Rin snapped. No, Velzera said. I'm leading us to evolution. Eli stepped beside her. Rin raised her blaster. I'm giving you one last chance. Stand down. Velzera didn't move, but others did. 2 officers behind Rin stepped forward and turned their weapons on her. You betrayed the wrong side, one of them said. Rin's face twisted with rage and fear, but before she could fire, Velzera knocked her out cold. Later in the brig, Rin stared at the floor. You've doomed us all. She hissed. No, Velzera said. We've finally begun, but peace didn't last long. Alarms blared. A new ship had arrived. Mercenaries. Armed. Prepared. Deadly. They had one target, Eli, and they had already boarded the ship. War of Hearts. Red lights, sirens, steel doors locking. The ship shook as it was breached. Velzera stood on the command deck, staring at the hologram of the invading vessel, a black, spiked cruiser designed for one purpose, bounty hunting. Their mission was simple, capture or kill the human named Eli. Her officers turned to her, waiting for orders, but she didn't speak, because in that moment, she wasn't just a commander. She was someone afraid to lose him. Eli ran through the corridors, escorted by 2 guards. The ship was in chaos, soldiers choosing sides, sirens echoing, floors vibrating with each blast. He heard the announcement again. Attention crew, hostile boarders have entered the lower decks. All hands prepare for combat. Priority target, human asset. Repeat, human asset, he muttered under his breath. That's me. Velzera stormed into the weapons bay. She suited up, not in her regal armor, but in battle gear. Dark, sharp, efficient. She was no longer hiding her power. If they wanted war, she'd give them one, but not for control, not for conquest. For him, meanwhile, the bounty hunters moved fast. They weren't ordinary mercenaries. These were elite killers, enhanced with cybernetic implants and poison-coated weapons. They had one rule: no survivors where witnesses breathe. One of them, a 6-eyed creature known as Hexer, had personally killed 3 planetary leaders. Now, he had Earth's last hope in his sights. In the cargo bay, Eli and his escorts were ambushed. 3 bounty hunters dropped from the ceiling like shadows. One soldier fell immediately, throat sliced by a plasma blade. The second drew his weapon to slow. Eli ducked behind a container. He had no weapon, no training, but he had a brain. He grabbed a wrench, yanked loose a coolant valve, and blasted freezing gas into the attacker's face. The creature screamed, clawing at its own mask. Eli ran. Velzera tracked his signal through the ship's sensors. She cursed under her breath. He was alone now, and the killers were closing in. She moved faster, like a shadow with purpose. In the hangar bay, 3 more bounty hunters broke through the blast doors. One of Velzera's lieutenants stood in their path, Commander Vecra, one of the few who believed in her new way. She drew both blades. Turn back, she warned. They laughed. She did in single quotes. 10 seconds later, 2 of them were dead, but the third stabbed her in the back as she fell. Even loyalty has its price. Eli stumbled into the old drone bay, abandoned and dark. He hid behind a support beam, breathing heavily. Then, a sound, not footsteps. Whispers. Mechanical. Cold. He turned and Hexer stood before him, 6 eyes glowing like stars. I must admit, Hexer said, voice like glass cutting bone, you've survived longer than expected. Eli backed away. You don't have to do this. I don't, Hexer said, but I want to. He raised his weapon. And fired. The bolt never hit. Velzera tackled Hexer midair, crashing both of them through a steel wall. She fought like a storm unleashed, fast, merciless, graceful. Hexer countered, claws slashing. They danced in death. Velzera landed a punch that dented his mask. Hexer laughed. Finally, he said, a real opponent. Their fight moved across the chamber, sparks flying, blades clashing, walls cracking. Eli tried to crawl away, but his leg was bleeding. Suddenly, Hexer threw Velzera across the room. She crashed into a console, blood dripping from her mouth. Hexer aimed again at Eli. You die now. But before he could pull the trigger, Velzera stabbed him through the chest. He looked down, surprised. You care for him? Hexer whispered. She twisted the blade. I love him. And Hexer died. Silence. Then the pain hit her. The microshards in her body had shifted during the fight. Her legs weakened, her vision blurred. She dropped to one knee. Zera, Eli shouted, crawling to her. He held her face. She was burning hot. You're dying, he said. No more lies. She tried to smile. Not yet. I have more to fight for. He hugged her, trembling. They were alive, but the ship was in ruins. Later in the control room, Velzera stood before her remaining officers. Half her ship was damaged. Most of her crew was gone or neutralized. They had stopped the mercenaries for now, but the message from the council was clear. She had broken the laws of the galaxy. She had protected a human. She had chosen love over war. Now the punishment was coming. As she looked over the star maps, Eli sat beside her. His wound was stitched. His voice was tired. What now? he asked. She pointed to a distant star system. There's a planet, she said, hidden, ancient. Long forgotten, my people once used it as a healing world. A cure? No, she said. But maybe time and answers. She leaned against him. I don't want to die without knowing who I really am. You're not a commander anymore, Eli said. You're something more. She nodded. But deep down, she knew. The council was watching. The real war hadn't started, and in the shadows of the stars, a new ship moved. Sleek, silent, carrying a message from the council itself. Send in the prophet. If she will not return, she will be erased. The last stand. Days later, in the shadow of a dying star, Velzera's ship drifted toward a forgotten world. Its name had been lost over centuries. Her people once called it Cortel, the place of silence. Now, it was their only hope. Velzera stood on the bridge, her skin pale, her eyes tired. The microshards were spreading through her blood like fire. Eli stood beside her, quiet, afraid to ask how much time she had left. He didn't need to, he already knew. The ship touched down near a vast canyon lined with glowing stone pillars. The air was thin, the sky purple, strange lights moved through the fog. Velzera stepped out first. This planet, it was a place for warriors to die in peace. You brought me to a graveyard? Eli asked, half smiling. No, she said, I brought us to the one place the council won't follow us yet. She had come here for answers, but the past was not the only thing waiting for her. High above the galaxy, the council watched. 7 cloaked figures sat in silence around a table of stars. A message arrived. Velzera has landed on Cortel. Her condition is deteriorating. The human is still alive. A moment of silence. Then one voice whispered, send the prophet. Who is the prophet? He was once Velzera's mentor. Now, he was her executioner back on Cortel. Eli explored the ancient ruins with Velzera. The stone walls were covered in markings. Not of war, but of memory. They came here when they were tired of killing, she said. They wanted to feel something again, like you. Eli asked gently. She nodded, then suddenly froze. On one wall was a carved image of a tall warrior standing beside a small creature, not a prisoner, not an enemy, a companion. The creature was clearly human. They knew, she whispered, long before us, they knew that someday one of us would choose peace. Eli touched the wall, and then, without warning, he collapsed. He woke in a dark cave, sweat pouring from his skin. Velzera held him. You passed out, she said. The planet reacts to thoughts, feelings. I saw something, Eli whispered. A memory, but it wasn't mine. He had seen a vision, a war, long ago. An alien warrior, broken by battle. And a human, healing her, just like now. It wasn't a prophecy. It was a cycle. And this time, they had to break it. But far above them, the prophet had arrived. His ship was made of black crystal, shaped like a blade. He descended in silence, cloaked in ancient armor, carrying a single staff, the staff of judgment. A weapon that could dissolve cells with one strike. He stepped onto the soil of Cortel without a word. The earth bent beneath his feet. Velzera felt it. He's here, she said. Eli nodded. Then let's finish it. She turned to him. No, you can't come with me. If I fall, you must survive. You must tell them, tell Earth, tell the stars. I'm not leaving you, he said. I'm not asking, she replied. She kissed his forehead, the first and only time. Then she walked away. She met the prophet in the Valley of Pillars. The wind was still. The fog parted like it feared them. Both. He looked at her, his eyes unreadable behind a silver mask. You were the greatest of us, he said. And now, look at you. I found something worth more than war, Velzera replied. A human. He spat. A parasite. A mirror, she corrected. One that shows me who I am. The prophet raised his staff. No more words, and the last duel began. The fight was silent and savage. Staff against blade, light against shadow. Velzera moved with fury, with pain, with the weight of love and betrayal. The prophet was faster, cleaner, colder. He struck her shoulder. The skin cracked. She spun, slashed his chest. Sparks flew. Their weapons screamed. Each blow echoed across the canyon. Back at the ship, Eli watched from the cliff. He wanted to run down to help her, but he couldn't. He had to trust her. Just once, Velzera's blade shattered. The prophet drove his staff into her side. She screamed, fell to one knee. He stepped forward. It ends here, he said. No, she gasped. It begins. She reached up and grabbed the staff of judgment with her bare hand. It burned her skin. But she didn't let go. She pulled him forward, face to face, and whispered, I choose peace. Then, with her last strength, she tore the staff in half. Energy exploded. The prophet flew backward. His armor cracked. His mask fell. And for the first time, Velzera saw his face. Old. Afraid. Broken. He crawled away, defeated. She stood, barely. Bleeding. Burning. Alive. Eli ran to her. Held her in his arms. You did it, he said. You won. No, she said. We won. But her body was failing, the shards were too deep now, her breath was slow, her eyes dim. He held her tightly. "I love you," he whispered. She smiled faintly and said the last words she would ever speak. "Now I understand what it means to live." Then she closed her eyes and didn't open them again. The stars were quiet that night. 1 year later on Earth, under a blue sky, a statue stood in a public square, a tall warrior. Silver eyes, blade broken, hand reaching down to a human, children played near it. One man stood beside it. Eli. He told stories now. To all who would listen, not just about war, but about a woman from the stars who found her soul in the heart of a human. Legacy of Two World Scanner, HFY Sci-Fi, third person, approx. 1700 words. A year later, the stars had not forgotten her, neither had Earth, across the galaxy. In the remains of broken empires, whispers spread like fire through ice. The war queen who chose peace, the alien who loved a human, the last commander who died free. Velzera was gone, but her legacy had only begun on Earth. Eli stood before a crowd in the new Alliance Hall, a gleaming structure built where the first alien ship had landed. He wore no uniform, no medals. Just a simple black shirt, a tribute to her. Behind him stood a massive image, not of battle, not of victory, but of Velzera standing beside a human child, hand on his shoulder. Eli looked at the crowd, humans, aliens, diplomats, soldiers, skeptics, believers. He cleared his throat and spoke. She was the most dangerous being in the galaxy, but when she looked at Earth, she saw something she never had before. She saw home, not buildings, not weapons, not power, but kindness, joy, music, memory. She saw people who made mistakes, but kept hoping. Velzera could have destroyed us. Instead, she chose to understand us. And through her, I came to understand you. We are not just humans, we are history. We are future, and now, thanks to her, we are no longer alone. The crowd stood in silence. Then one by one, they clapped. First the humans, then the aliens, then the children. A new treaty was signed that day, the Human-Alari Accord. For the first time in recorded galactic history, a human voice had shaped interstellar law, but not everyone celebrated. In the outer rings, inside a cold, dying moon, remnants of the old council met in secret. Velzera had been a symbol, but also a threat. Now she was gone, but her ideas lived on. Her death made her immortal. One figure hissed. "Earth grows stronger," said another. "But so does resistance," whispered a third. They opened a stasis vault. Inside, something moved. Slow, breathing, sleeping. "Activate the fracture cell," the leader ordered. "If humans and Alari wish to unite, let us remind them what division looks like." Back on Earth, Eli stood alone under the stars. A soft wind brushed his face. He visited the place he once feared he'd never return to, the ocean cliffs of Maine, where he and Sarah had camped as kids. He sat on the rocks, overlooking the sea. Beside him was a small device, not a weapon, not a beacon, a memory stone. Velzera had given it to him before her last battle. It carried the last moment of her life, locked in energy. He activated it. A hologram of Velzera appeared, not in armor, not in command, just her, standing barefoot on Cortel, looking at the sky. She spoke. "If you are hearing this, I am gone. But do not mourn me. I was born in silence. I lived in war, but with you, I felt. And that is more than any queen was ever given." She looked directly into the projection, her eyes glowing faintly. "Love is not weakness. Peace is not surrender. It is the final battle. And you, Eli, you already won." The image faded. Eli closed his eyes and cried, but the stars were not done with him yet. That night, a shuttle landed quietly near the cliffs. A young woman stepped out. Her skin was pale silver, her hair dark like space. She wore no armor, only a cloak. Eli turned, confused. She bowed. "My name is Nyrakel," she said softly, "daughter of Velzera." Ellie's breath caught. "I didn't know she had a child." "She didn't," Nira replied, "until Cortel." Eli understood. Velzera had created life, one final act before her end. Nira held something in her hand, a crystal shaped like a seed. "She left this for you. It contains her genetic memory, her thoughts, her dreams, her soul." Eli held the seed in shaking hands. Nira continued, "I was sent to learn your world, not as a queen, not as a soldier, as a student, a friend, perhaps, one day, something more." He smiled. "You're already something more." In the distance, a new star lit up the sky. The galaxy was watching. Peace had begun, but peace, like love, must be defended. Deep inside the fracture moon, a figure stepped out of cryostasis, eyes burning red, voice echoing like thunder. "Velzera is dead, but I remember her weakness." The human, he turned to the council remnant. "Prepare the Eraser Legion. We take Earth next."